She hadn't run toward anyone with that expression since her father passed away. "Perhaps, Your Majesty, that's precisely the point worth understanding." Paul Bramwell had spent 4 months working as part of the Coalition's infrastructure repair team assigned to the Valkyrie Royal Palace, a technical role focused entirely on restoring damaged energy systems following recent territorial conflicts that had left significant portions of the capital's power grid compromised. His official responsibilities involved nothing remotely connected to royal household interaction, a fact that had initially struck Holt as straightforward and entirely manageable, given his complete unfamiliarity with Valkyrie diplomatic protocol and palace social hierarchy. What those official responsibilities hadn't anticipated was Princess Loressa, Queen Iselda's 7-year-old daughter, developing an immediate and persistent fascination with a human engineer working near the palace's eastern technical wing. "What are you fixing?" she had asked him directly during his first week, appearing unannounced beside his workstation with the fearless curiosity that royal children apparently maintained regardless of species or cultural context. "Power conduits," Holt had explained. Somewhat surprised by direct royal interaction, his briefing materials hadn't specifically addressed. "Making sure the lights stay on. That seems important," Loressa had said, settling onto a nearby crate with the casual confidence of someone entirely unconcerned about appropriate royal decorum. Their subsequent interactions, occurring whenever Holt's repair schedule brought him near areas Loressa frequented, gradually developed into something considerably warmer than typical staff royalty interaction protocols generally permitted. Holt explained technical concepts in terms a curious child could understand. Loressa asked increasingly sophisticated questions that suggested genuine engineering interest rather than mere childhood curiosity. Palace staff observing these exchanges initially expressed quiet concern, gradually shifting toward cautious approval as Loressa's behavior during these interactions revealed something palace counselors had struggled to address since her father's death 18 months earlier. She laughed genuinely, easily, without the careful restraint that royal children typically learned regarding public emotional expression. Queen Iselda, informed of these developing interactions through standard palace reporting protocols, had initially approached the situation with the measured caution typical of royal oversight regarding her daughter's relationships. "Tell me about the human engineer," she'd requested during a private consultation with her senior advisor, Theodric Vosberg, 3 months into Holt's assignment. "Technically competent," Theodric reported. "Professionally appropriate in all documented interactions. The princess has developed considerable attachment, Your Majesty, though I should note his conduct throughout remains entirely respectful of appropriate boundaries. And her behavior during these interactions? Notably improved emotional engagement," Theodric said carefully. "Genuine laughter, spontaneous curiosity. Behaviors palace counselors have struggled encouraging since His Majesty's passing." Iselda had absorbed this information with the particular consideration reserved for circumstances requiring careful royal judgment rather than immediate decision. "Continue monitoring," she'd said discreetly. The afternoon that fundamentally shifted court perception occurred during a formal diplomatic reception, with Holt arriving briefly to deliver technical documentation regarding completed repair work. His presence within the palace's grand entrance hall was entirely unexpected by anyone except Loressa, who had apparently maintained careful awareness of his typical schedule. She broke from her formal position beside her mother's throne the moment she recognized him, racing across the marble floor with complete disregard for royal decorum that sent visible shock through the assembled court officials. "Holt!" she called, arms extended with unrestrained delight that contrasted sharply against the formal court atmosphere surrounding her. Holt, recognizing the social complexity of the moment despite limited Valkyrie cultural training, knelt immediately upon her approach, accepting her enthusiastic embrace while simultaneously maintaining appropriate professional distance that subsequent court analysis would specifically note as remarkably well-calibrated given the circumstances. "Princess," he said warmly, "you're supposed to be at the reception. I saw you from the stairs," she said, entirely unbothered by the protocol violations that had palace guards exchanging uncertain glances throughout the hall. Queen Iselda, observing this exchange from her throne with an expression court historians would later describe extensively, found herself studying not the protocol violation itself, but rather her daughter's expression, genuine, unguarded joy that hadn't appeared with such natural ease since circumstances she preferred not revisiting publicly. "Loressa," she said, her voice carrying gentle correction rather than harsh reprimand. "Perhaps you might return to your position, allowing our guest to complete his business appropriately." "Yes, Mother," Loressa said, though her continued smile suggested minimal genuine concern regarding the mild correction. Holt, recognizing his moment to address the Queen directly, rose and offered the formal Valkyrie bow required, though his subsequent words departed considerably from standard diplomatic formality. "Your Majesty," he said, "I apologize if my presence created inappropriate disruption. The princess's enthusiasm occasionally exceeds my ability to manage appropriate protocol." Iselda studied him for a long moment, recognizing within his straightforward apology something considerably more significant than simple professional courtesy. "Engineer Bramwell," she said, "I find myself reconsidering certain assumptions regarding appropriate palace interactions." "Your Majesty? My daughter," Iselda said, "hasn't demonstrated such unguarded happiness in considerable time. I find myself questioning whether strict protocol adequately serves her well-being compared to whatever genuine connection your presence apparently provides." Theodric, standing nearby, offered careful diplomatic input. "Perhaps, Your Majesty, a formal arrangement might address both protocol concerns and the princess's evident benefit from continued interaction." "Explain your meaning specifically," Iselda said. "An official designation," Theodric suggested, "as the princess's technical tutor and palace engineering consultant. Formal status would address protocol concerns, while permitting continued positive interaction." Iselda considered this recommendation with visible deliberation before addressing Holt directly. "Engineer Bramwell," she said, "would you consider a formal palace appointment addressing both technical infrastructure needs and providing appropriate educational engagement for my daughter?" Holt, genuinely surprised by this unexpected proposal, took a moment before responding with characteristic straightforwardness. "I'd consider that an honor, Your Majesty," he said, "though I should mention my engineering qualifications don't specifically include royal tutoring credentials." "Your qualifications," Iselda said, "appear to include something considerably more valuable than standard tutoring credentials. My daughter's genuine happiness suggests credentials matter considerably less than authentic connection." Loressa, who had been listening despite supposedly returning to her formal position, couldn't contain her enthusiasm any longer. "Does that mean Holt stays?" she asked, abandoning all pretense of royal composure. "It means," Iselda said, allowing herself a rare, genuine smile that surprised the assembled court considerably, "Engineer Bramwell becomes a permanent fixture within our household, assuming he accepts this arrangement." "I accept," Holt said immediately, watching Loressa's expression transform into unrestrained joy that several court officials would later describe as the most genuine happiness they'd witnessed from the young princess in considerable time. The formal appointment proceeded within the following week, Holt's role expanding from simple infrastructure repair toward something considerably more meaningful. A trusted household presence whose genuine connection with the young princess provided exactly the kind of stability and warmth that royal protocol, however well-intentioned, had struggled to provide during the difficult circumstances following her father's passing. Queen Iselda, watching her daughter's continued happiness develop over subsequent months, found herself grateful for the circumstances that had brought an unassuming human engineer into their household, recognizing that sometimes the most valuable additions to a royal court arrived through entirely unexpected, unglamorous professional assignments rather than anything resembling formal diplomatic protocol. Queen Iselda watched her daughter disappear down the corridor beside an ordinary human engineer carrying a toolbox instead of a royal title. Strange, she thought. Kingdoms were usually changed by generals, diplomats, or kings. Sometimes they were changed by the person who simply made a child smile again. The end.